I can relate to that because you're obviously a very busy guy too. I mean, we spoke recently, and I was so I don't know. I want to let the people know I owe Bobby about 137 beers. Um, that's about the count approximately, right? Um,
Probably. We'll
because
just call that a wash after this.
oh, okay. No, I don't think so. I'll still owe you a clean 50 or so. Um,
Okay.
so because this is fun. I've never done anything like this before, but people usually try and tune me out when I'm talking instead of asking me to talk to them. So, um, but yeah, you're obviously a very busy guy. Like I said, you had the zine, you got the YouTube, you got just so many things you're doing, and playing music, and all these things. My list of things I'm doing isn't quite as long, but uh, I wound up realizing the other day somebody was like, "Yeah, you said it kind of sounds like when you go home from your 9 to 5, you just kind of work." Yeah, man, I got two full-time jobs. I mean, like I leave work, I go home, takes me an hour to get home, and then I just work until it's bedtime, and that's every day.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I got the kids, I run them around to the things, you know what I mean? And then I
Yeah.
work in between. And
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of times I sit at the kitchen table packing records, and I'm like, "Can you guys come in here so I can see your face this weekend?"
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it is super important to find those like little micro moments. But I know like I love to write as well, and I can't remember the last time I wrote anything, you know, other than a little scribble on a receipt, basically an invoice.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing I really like about what you do is whenever, often, if not every time, you post a picture of a record for the shop, and I read every single description. Anytime your post comes across my screen, I always read it because your writing style is just so I don't know, enthralling or something. I love to read
Thank
it.
you.
You're super funny and smart, and like there's some kind of thing and handsome. I don't know. Yeah, I'll just keep going, I guess. But um, the way that you uh, write is super captivating. So I hope you do continue pursuing that specific thing among
Thank you,
everything
man. I
else.
appreciate that. And the internet it can sometimes feel like an empty place, like a
Hmm.
one-way street, so it's I really appreciate you saying that, man. And that was my current goal was the Instagram or the Facebook, which is the same at this point.
Yeah.
Social media album reviews. So you're right. Every time I post a picture of a record, not the group of records, but if it's a single record, there is a blurb written with it, and those don't write themselves. There's got to
Yep.
be time to sit down and write. So uh, those are I wanted to do that for a full year, which is funny. We're getting to the end of the year now, so January 1 would be like, do I want to keep going with that?
Yep.
I've done that
Well,
at this point for a full year of every 5 days a week, post an album, write a blurb, do the thing, move on, and all of those have been physically albums that are in the store.
Well, this sounds real familiar to me because I don't know. Some minutes ago, I said something about like, yeah, I don't know, these little thank yous I'm writing are bullshit, and then I saw somebody say, like, no, this is like one of my favorite things. Well, I'm telling you, that's one of my
Yeah,
favorite things,
yeah.
and
Right at the end of where I'm like, I'm just about to stop.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I can. I think I can drop this thing that's really
Yeah,
taxing me mentally and physically.
yeah,
Like, no, 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 keep doing that. That's my favorite thing.
yeah.
So
Thanks for
you
roping
have
me back in, John.
Yeah, you have my support. Let's go to day 421 of that. You know what I mean? Let's see if we
Yeah,
can beat
yeah.
your last streak. That's it.
That's great, man.
That's kind of how I felt too, because I was like, God damn it, I don't want to write. You know what I mean? Like, just I
Yeah,
thought I was gonna let that one go, and then when
yeah,
I started doing it again, I was like, oh, okay, no, I do like it. So we'll see
yeah,
how you feel January 3rd or whatever day of the week that
yeah.
may be.
That's going to really be the thing that when the moment, because unlike the riff, I accidentally skipped a day. There was no intention of stopping until that
Hmm.
happened, and I probably still
Hmm.
shouldn't have stopped. I should have just kept doing it myself and not releasing it. But something happened, and I just got out of the cycle.
That
But
would
as
have been
far as the
genuine.
writing, it's going to be that first Monday when I'm supposed to be writing am I going to write? That's going to be
Yep.
the deciding factor. And maybe it would be that I'll just be a little bit more patient with myself and go, you know what? Instead of writing today and tomorrow and the day after, maybe this is the one that really needs to be
Yeah.
written about.
Yeah.
So, and that way, when you do see it, it'll be a little more special. I probably will just continue because that seems like something I would do is tell myself to just keep going. And I get the creative writing out of it. And I can
Yeah.
always, very rarely do I throw somebody under the bus, but occasionally there's one of those where I'm just like, you know, my friends like this album and we got it in the shop, but it's, you know, way to go. I hope you buy it. So occasionally one of those come through, and it does kind of feel good to do that from time to time. But I really try to always post about something that I want someone to specifically hear, and not just something that's random.
Yeah.
Same way with the podcast. That's one of the things that I decided to focus on. The last year with the podcast, it's kind of set aside. I used to do the audio podcast for years. And I was
Hmm.
like, man, Monuments and Ruin is this all encompassing name that I have that means podcast. It means record orders. It means, record live stuff. It means whatever. And
Yeah.
I just always loved that it's this catch all, but I really was having trouble connecting. Do I promote Inherent Records or do I promote Monuments and Ruin? Because Inherent Records is a physical retail
Hmm.
location. Before that, it was a physical record label. Those two combine as Inherent Records. Monuments and Ruins, all the other stuff. It's like you just sweep all that other stuff into Monuments and Ruin, and that becomes, whatever it is. And so I was like, man, the podcast for a year now has almost a year, sat dormant. And every week that I don't post a podcast, I'm telling myself, you messed up because look at all this music you heard. And you got to tell somebody. There's 3 people out there right now that haven't heard this. It's like, I need to put together a full hour worth of music that 3 people are going to listen to. It's my duty to them.
That's right.
So I decided with the video aspect being the new kind of focus and creativity, I'm
Yep.
revamping the podcast and it's now a video episode. So Monuments and Ruin started, then it revamped itself, and then it revamped itself again. So now it's on its third version, and I'm on tonight. Actually, posted released episode 4 of what I'm calling the VEPs now, the video episodes. So the
Oh,
podcast is
VEP. I
back,
like that.
Monuments and Ruin on the YouTube, and yeah, and it's all
Yes.
same as ever. I still immediately felt right at home. It's like, yes, I'm contacting people, I'm putting music together, I'm sifting it out and sending it to the world. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh man, I kind of feel like that creativity was expunged for the night. It's like that
You
that one
found that
moment. It's like
outlet, man.
I could just breathe easy. It's like, okay, is anybody going to watch it? Who knows? Because the moment I put my hands on the table, I'm like, oh, that was what I was missing.
Yep.
What happens afterwards is great. If a
Hmm.
1,000 people listen to it, great. If 2 people listen to it, that's just as good. It doesn't matter of the volume because two
Hmm.
people. If there were 2 people in this room with you and I talking, I'd be like, "Hey man, there's a lot of people in here. You want to go outside?"
Right.
So, so if there's 1,000 that watch it, that's freaking great, man. And I
Right.
appreciate all of those that took their time. The 2 people is just as good because that exhaling is all I needed from it, and telling people about this cool music that's all around us at all times. And when people say there's nothing good happening anymore in the music world, I just listen to Led Zeppelin. Like, well, actually, I got this podcast. You should give it a
Hmm.
listen.
That's right,
And
man.
there you go.
So something I don't want to forget to mention, especially talking about how I'm pretty new into doom metal and all that stuff, is how freaking awesome the Weedian playlists are. And
Man,
we
great.
we just had our trip to Tennessee, didn't we? It
We
just
did.
dropped, and I cannot tell you how freaking excited I was. One of my buddies lives in West Virginia. They got trip to West Virginia. I think we got that last year or something like that.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I sent it to him and I was like, "Hey man, it's you. It's you right now. It's your time.
Yeah.
Go listen to this." I got excited for him when trip to Tennessee dropped. he sent it to me. He was like, "Hey, it's you this time." It's like, yeah, I think that there's
Yes.
like, I think that there's like three doom metal bands here, but like, yeah, cool. And he sent me, Weedy and Post like, name your three favorite doom metal bands from Tennessee, and I was like, I'm like personal friends with people in five of those bands, uh,
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, oh God, we really do have a lot of good stuff here. So
Yeah.
that was nice.
Man,
Um,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say they're freaking awesome. Anytime
Yeah.
uh, a new Weedian playlist comes out on Bandcamp, I just boom, and that's what I
Yeah.
listen to like that week, and just repeat it over and over again.
That the trip to Tennessee was a real moment of, like you said, it's like you're looking at this list and you're like, wow, man, we're well represented. I
Yeah,
mean, there's you kind of don't realize how much is just floating under the bridge, until you see it all. It's like now the boat is on the water. And you're like, wow, man, there's so much going on around us.
yeah,
Seeing all of our friends listed, and it's like, man, okay, they have stuff that we've released on Inherent Records. Those are my buds. I've known them for years. I've released their record. I've released their tape. And you're going down this list like, man, we played shows with them. Those are the coolest dudes ever. Oh, that band's broke up, but they were so good. That band played at the record store. They were one of my last shows that I had. When I had the Cleveland location, and I was
hmm,
just looking at it all. It's like, man, what a almost like an emotional moment to look at the playlist, because there's a lot of bands that I didn't know, but it was also like a real kind of these are our people.
yeah,
Man, how neat is it to see them all in one place? Because like I look at my music rack where you go to the shows and you buy the 7-inch or the CD or
yeah,
the record or whatever, and you kind of keep your local stuff together. And I
hmm,
look at that, and I'm like, man, this is kind of a neat thing. But you just don't realize that, like, when you stack it like this, it's like, look at all that stuff,
that's right.
and it was really, really cool to see that they had put that together and to be represented in it. It's like, wow, man, these are our people. It's not just our people, it's us. Like,
You know,
Koza was in there, and
mhm.
we're just like right along the list of everybody. It's like, man, what a great, great feeling.
That I feel like that's almost a perfect segue, or at least in the disconnected elements of my brain, it's a perfect segue into. Um, I think one of the things, as I was in Nashville this past weekend, and I said, yeah, I feel like people in Nashville always know what's going on. There was always something going on in Nashville, right? And we have a whole lot of stuff going on in Chattanooga and the greater Chattanooga area,
Yeah,
but like I never know what it is. I feel like super disconnected from my scene. So when I was at the Nashville like punk rock flea market this weekend, all the punks were congregated in one area. So I'm sure that I wasn't seeing like a normal weekend, obviously,
yeah,
because everybody was there. But I'm like, man, I can't really see anything like this going down in Chattanooga. It's like maybe I need to start it. Maybe I need to do that. Oh God, I don't have any time. But I think that something that Chattanooga needs like really desperately that I'm not aware exist is we need some central place for people to be able to go to be able to see here's where everything is going down. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you're looking for something to do Friday night, XYZ. What type of thing are you interested in? Food and dining or live music or comedy shows or whatever.
yeah,
You want to go climb a big ass rock? We got a bunch of those, uh, you know, there. So I feel like that's something we're missing. If it's there, someone please tell me about it because I
yeah,
feel like I miss rad stuff all the time.
yeah. Well, it's interesting that you're talking about that, because it's almost like this question that we're all asking. It's like, how do you promote something today? I
Hmm.
mean, I know you can put something on your social media page, but how many people actually see it unless they're actively seeking out? Like, I want to know what John posted today, which, by the way, before we close this out, don't let me forget to give you a chance to talk about where people can find you online.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, we'll do.
But you know, where do you go to just see the stuff? Because, like you were talking about doom scrolling earlier,
Hmm.
man, I've got to where a large percentage of the things that I do are intentionally post and ghost. I'll go online, I'll post something, make sure it gets in the circulations, hit the share buttons to wherever, whether it be, this place or that place. And then there's one or two locations that I'll quickly jump over to and be like, okay, Anything new there? I need to check
Yeah.
that. No, cross it off the list. Anything new there? I need to check that. Okay, I got to put this thing down because just what you said, you'll fall into that.
Hmm.
And if you start just looking through news feeds and stuff, it's not that you don't want to share your life with these people and that you don't want to see what they're doing, but there's so much content that you will just kind of fall in this scroll,
Oh yeah.
and it's not achieving the goal that you intended, which was like when I first joined some social medias way back, it's like I followed bands. MySpace was a place for friends and music. It's like,
Hmm.
wow, you mean I can actually contact a band and they will directly message me back and they have a music player on their now MySpace page? This is the
Hmm.
greatest thing ever. And it was all about connecting with musicians. I met friends on there that I still stay in touch with today. We book shows. They come into town. I went to their town. Great stuff. And then people migrated to the next phase, and somehow the music side got left behind because it was more just about the community interactions. And that's cool too. But when the people leave, the musicians had to kind of follow with it, and they're
Yep.
also the community. So it's, makes sense. Well, I'm already on here. I'm just going to take my band stuff over here. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, the real switch was flipped where it's like, guess what? We kind of only show your stuff to 10% of the 1,000 people that follow you.
Hmm.
So you should probably pay for promotions and stuff like that. It's cool. They're trying to figure out a business plan. The sad part is that we let all of the options be taken away from us that seemed so easy before. Where did
Right.
you go to promote stuff in Chattanooga, for example? We had a website called chatterrock.com. It's just a
Hmm.
forum, Everybody talked about all the cool stuff on there. There's a lot of sarcasm on there too, and there was another web page that was called CIA Music, which was Chattanooga Independent Artists. It was like the more clean cut delivery of, okay, well, these are the bands you probably have heard them on KZ 106 or something like that. We're promoting local bands in that way. Both of them had their different styles, but it was the place that everybody could go, and it
Yep.
really propped up the scene and it helped people get that information together. And of course, there was always, just like at the record store at Collective Clothing, there's a cork board. You can go put your flyers up. People forget that there's a cork board right in front of the record shelf.
Yeah.
Go look for records and look up and find out what's going on this week. So but if you don't tell people, they won't know.
Yeah.
So back to the point, how do we streamline this is the place where you go to find the information in a singularity? That's what's missing now. It's almost like somebody took the mirror and they just dropped it, and now you shattered into 1,000 million pieces,
Well,
and
because you're right.
everybody's
Even
trying to use their little piece to promote.
you're right. Even if you're a band and you have your own Facebook page or Instagram or whatever the
Yeah,
social media of the day is, you post it, and if you've got 10,000 followers, you're like really doing a thing. Like you said,
yeah,
it doesn't mean 10,000 people are going to see your post. It means, it depends on whether they log in or not, and if the Kardashians posted anything and they're following them too, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Whatever, all kinds of
exactly.
who knows what type of wizardry goes on in the background. But you might have 15 people of 10,000 view it. I mean, I don't know the
Yeah,
exact ratios, but it's certainly a much smaller percentage than you might think. You're like, oh shit,
yeah,
like sometimes when I get a new record in that I'm super jazzed about, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post something about this, like, just me and my. Even though I've been doing it for a little while, like I'm not actually this naive, but I'm like, man, they're gonna be gone in an hour. Like people are gonna be so stoked about this because I'm stoked about
yeah,
it. I know a lot of these people as people now. They've read my scribble. Uh, it's gonna be great. And then like nothing, you know.
yeah,
And then I'll post some
yeah,
dumbass thing later, another day, and I'll just be like, yeah, I don't know. Here's a record. My friend told me to post it, like you said earlier,
mhm,
whatever. And that's the one that it's just totally freaking unpredictable.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. It's like blindly throwing darts and just hoping that something hits. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, yeah. So my answer to that for the temporary time, I think, is something you probably have. I have. I don't use it to the best of its ability, but I think I should because I'm telling you to do so. Is an email list. All of these people that have decided to, at some way or another cross paths with us. They've probably given us their email when they ordered something.
Yeah.
So that's probably the way but it's not a local thing. That's a worldwide
Yeah.
message that you're sending. But you could, break that down to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna break this email into sections. First of all, I'm going to talk about these are the new records that we've got at Skeletunes or at monumentsandruin.com. Then we're going to talk about the local events that are going on related to Skeletunes.com and the punk
Hmm.
rock flea market that you're going to. Then we're going to talk about the worldwide things that are interested, maybe break it into sections. So that way it's like, okay, I've got 15 emails. If I'm going to click on them, it's got to be that one over this one because I'm on my lunch break and I've
Yep.
only got enough time to do a little bit of reading. So let's hit it and get it. You know what I mean? Uh, don't don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
That's right. Oh man,
So
I love it.
so maybe that's something that, as I'm telling you, I should punish myself by taking some of that time that I'm writing for social
I was
media
gonna
and
say, yeah. How
reflect
long
it
has it
to
been
an
since I've
email
seen a
list.
Monuments in Ruin email? I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember.
exactly.
I feel like I used
Yeah,
to get those back in the day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So I
it's
should do
hard. I mean,
better.
there's only so many hours in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we just had a major shift at like my my other job, uh, where we had big team and then small team, and I'll just leave it at that. But
yeah,
I apologized to somebody earlier today. I was like, man, you've been waiting like a week and a half on a response from me from this like stupidly easy thing. It's not my style.
yeah.
Like, I'm good at my job. And she's like, one person can only do so much. Like, it's cool. And I mean,
Hmm.
I'd give you that encouragement too. I know it must beat you down
Yeah,
sometimes, or at least it does for me. I'm like,
yeah,
oh man, like this week I had in my mind. I came back from the Nashville Punk Rock Flea Market. I was a sponsor for the first time ever this weekend. It went really well. Sold a bunch of records, met a bunch of people, shook all the babies, kissed all the hands. You know what I mean? And and then I came back with all these crates of records, and I was like, well, I got to put them back on the shelf and inventory them and re-inventory back on the site. I could probably get that done Monday evening.
yeah,
I like barely even started, man. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
you got that normal day to day, so it's just it's easy to beat yourself up, but what can you do? I'll get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, baby steps, man. Just keeping it all balanced. And I've learned one of the things that I'm having to punish myself into understanding is that as much as I've always wanted to have a, a bunch of irons in the fire,
Hmm.
it's probably serving me better to sacrifice a little bit of that and to put that more value into something else. So, for
Yep.
example, the zine, did the zine for a few months, was really excited. I loved doing the writing, specifically not just the album reviews, but just the random. I'm just going to tell a short story. It's
Hmm.
real the creative writing process. I liked that the most of all. Um, let me not do that, but instead let me go ahead and assemble. I don't know if I've got it close by here or not. Let me go ahead and assemble a Halloween. There it is. A Halloween story that I wrote. And it's been 3 years ago. It's like that
Yeah.
seems like a more creative use of my time today because I did all of the effort and I never made it a physical form. It's like I wrote
Right.
it and then nobody knew about it. So it's like, okay, well, I'll do that. And then I've got this other Halloween story. I'll do the same with it, and of course, the zine as well. So it was like, okay, that zine after that issue was put on hold. I started doing the others, and then I was like, okay, that's got to come to a halt if I'm going to bring the podcast back. I can't do it all. So
Yeah.
I think that's I'm kind of talking in circles because I just said I was going to take some irons out of the fire, and then I showed that I'm obviously not doing that. But I am trying to
You have
I'm
the
trying
intention.
to acknowledge
Yeah.
with myself that family first, the creativity second, and then everything else can blossom from that, whichever it be that I put my time into. Well,
Oh yeah.
John, man, this is an absolute blast, and I could obviously talk for hours and hours. I would love to talk for hours and hours more. I know you're probably getting ready to wind down for the evening. I know I need to as well.
Yeah.
Um, before we log out here, two things. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't specifically touch on? And where would people go to learn more and get in touch with John Rollan?
Well, I mean, so I will tell you something. I told one of my friends today, I was like, oh, hey, today's podcast day. I told him about it. And and he goes, I was like, I'm a little nervous because, like, I don't know what to expect. I mean, I'm just hanging out with Bobby, like, through the
Yeah,
computer screen. That's fine. And this has been, you've been very kind and gentle with me. Thank you. Um, but, like, man, I don't know what to expect. Like, I'm a little nervous. He said, well, you have no problem it said something to the fact of like, you have no problem talking all the time, so I'm sure you'll do just fine. To which I told him, thanks a lot, fuck you, also.
yeah,
But and then like I was like, hey, in my work chat, I was like, I can't believe what my friend just said to me, and they were all like, is it bad? I was thinking kind of the same thing. So, anyways, I told them to go to hell also.
yeah.
Um, So I hope that this, there's been something. Hopefully, you have wizard editing skills and you can condense my long ass stories into like a couple sentences that are concise and make sense. But um, yeah, man, this has been a great time. I still owe you 50 beers after that math, so we'll still have to actually get together in person again at some point. But yeah, Skeletunes Records, primarily like a punk rock mail order shop. I got some metal and stuff in there too, but very much when you were saying that. 98% of the stuff on your shelf is like you'd be pretty happy if it found its way into your personal collection. I'm 100% the same way because I started Skeletons. I always tell everybody I started Skeletons by accident, like 100%, because the way it started was I got back into vinyl real heavy in January of 2022, so uh, almost 2 years ago. After I had sold my entire like teenage collection and everything. I Marie Kondoed myself out of my collection. I was like, I don't listen to it very often and collecting dust or whatever. So I sold all my shit for $100 total. It was worth way more than that then, but I just didn't have a way to sell it. Anyways, I got back into
Yeah,
vinyl just about 2 years ago at this point, and buy a record here or there. But you can't just have three records. You know what I mean?
right.
You're like, well, I listen to those three every day. Now I'm bored of vinyl. So, I splurged a little bit, got 20 records all at once, and I couldn't really afford that. Like, credit cards are a hell of a drug. Anyway, I started amassing this collection probably too quickly, but okay, I got a stack of records. And then I came across, so this ties into what I said at the very beginning. AFI is one of the reasons that I started this by accident. So I was looking through, like, what is my, like, huge, what is my ultimate wish list of albums that if I could have one final, it would be that. And it was like all the AFI records, and of course all the Ramones. There were like
Yeah,
discographies at a time, and AFI records, most of them have been out of print for a long time, especially the back catalog. And I came across a copy of Burials, which came out in, I don't know, 2009 or something. I'm guessing it could be way off, but um, so I came across a copy finally, and I was like, okay, I didn't have the intention to be a flipper, you know, who's I'm going to buy a record for $20 and sell it for 200 just because I can. Like, capitalism's a
right.
thing, and power
Yeah,
to you, but just not my style. But I bought two copies, and that was the first record I ever bought two copies of. And I feel really good about it because I was like, I know how it's going to feel when I open that package and hold that thing because
yeah,
I've been looking for it at least really seriously for a couple months.
yeah. This is a
And
mission.
yeah, and I want somebody else to feel that way too. And I don't know who the hell they are or where they are or how I'm going to get it to them, but I'm going to get this for them, you know?
Yeah,
And then I went on Discogs, sold one or two, and I was like, ooh, these fees hurt my feelings. So built a website in a weekend, and then business license and all that stuff kind of fell into place. And I literally looked down one day and I was like, guess I started a business, and that was how it
Hmm.
started out. Um, so I guess I just want to encourage people. This is one of the things I was thinking of that I wanted to say while I was here is like, I feel two ways about the exact same thing. If somebody has got a dream or has something that they want to do, on one hand, like, chill out for a second, like, do your research. You know what I mean? Don't just, oh, I want to be a doctor and just start operating on people or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there are limitations, but, it's tangible. No, I didn't go to college. You know what I mean? I didn't go to school for this. I haven't been preparing for this my whole life. And, got a good handle on it. So, on one hand, you know, chill out, learn as much as you can about it first, properly prepare and then go do it. But more importantly, go do it, you know, because nobody's ever, just like how people say, well, you're never going to be ready to have your first baby. You're
Yeah.
not. Sometimes you just have a baby and then you figure out how to have a baby. It's kind of like that with learning an instrument or driving a car or starting a business. You don't have to have all the answers day one. You gotta have good friends that'll meet you for brunch to tell you what, kind of give you the peek behind the curtain a little bit, and
Yeah.
you kind of lean on other people to help you through it, and then figure it out. Yeah, school hard knocks sometimes. Get you know,
Yep.
you don't make every decision perfectly, but you figure it out. So I don't know. That's the origin. That's my backstory or whatever. But yeah, Skeletunes Records, skeletunesrecords.com uh, is the site, and I can tell you the one guy on the other side of that piece of glass is me right here. Sometimes my daughters help me pack records and stuff, so that's fine.
That's
Um,
cool.
and on all social media, just at Skeletunes Records, all one word.
And that is Tunes.
Yeah, I see. I thought I was really
Yeah.
cute.
Yep.
I'm a dad, so everything's a pun for me. So it's
Yeah.
Skeletunes, Tunes Records.
Yeah. Very nice. I like it, man. John, this is awesome, man. I had no intention of us talking for this long on our first foray into this. So you made it easy, man. You made it easy. You're fun to talk to.
Likewise.
You're easy to talk to. And man, thank you for doing this, first of all. I love watching what you're doing. And I know I said that I post and ghost a lot, but that doesn't mean that I don't see. I still see
That's
a lot
right.
of stuff that's going on out there, and you're one of the people that I do follow closely, as close as possible, anyway.
Hmm.
And yeah, man, I really appreciate your friendship, man. It's been nice to meet you first of all, and then see what you're doing, and then here we are a year later, and we're on the internet having a magical moment together.
That's
So
right.
thank you for
That's
taking the
right.
time to do that.
Thanks for having me, brother. Yeah, it's great to catch up with you, and we'll do it again real soon. And you
Absolutely.
know, I just want to say again, I appreciate it, man. You were literally a huge, huge foundational building block on how I was able to do anything at all. So I just appreciate the hell out of you. Yeah, thanks, man.
Very welcome, man. Thank you for doing this.